Nico Collins is a top 10 receiver in the NFL and a dog when on the field, but the rest of the wide receivers in the 2025 receiver room all have question marks. Today's pod is all about the receiver room, what's their grade, and who needs to be the floor raiser for this room to reach its full potential.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around. Thank you for listening and watching me, your Houston Texans football analyst and credentialed media member, John Hickman. Today's episode, we are diving into the receivers. Got to catch them all. What is the Texans' grade? I gave them a C+, and I'll explain why. Who is the floor raiser in that room? You know me, guys, and I've talked about it a lot here on the show. In 2025, I want to see a higher floor for the Houston Texans. That way the drop-off isn't as severe as it was in 2024. And I think the obvious answer for who needs to be the floor raiser in the receiver room should be crystal clear. So don't go nowhere. Also, you want to stick around to the end because Houston is starting training camp a week later this year, Al. They're not in the Hall of Fame game like they were in 2024. Week later this year in 2025. So time is of the essence. So important decisions will be made by both DeMeco Ryans and general manager Nick Caserio. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet win. I want to go ahead and dive into the conversation, guys. I gave this room a C+. A C+. I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, how do you give this room a C+ with Nico Collins in that room, right? The leader that he'll be in 2025 and beyond. This group features Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, two rookies, Jayden Higgins, Jalen Noel, a handful of vets that will be competing for wide receiver 4, 5, and 6, John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, Braxton Berrios, Justin Watson. I think two of those guys are coming back from an injury. I know for sure, Braxton Berrios. So they got some guys at the bottom of that room, not to mention some of the practice squad players that we see here year in and year out, Johnny Johnson, Jared Wayne. So we'll see how that competition goes for the Houston Texans. But the unit has a grade of C+ for me because of the uncertainty of very important factors: health, concrete evidence of production, and how those can be factored into realistic expectations for 2025. I thought it was a mistake the Houston Texans did not draft a receiver in 2024. They doubled up on receivers in 2025. Before I start, I want to say that Nico Collins is this group B+, borderline A receiver. Listen, is he top 5? Not yet, right? Can he? But right now we view Nico as 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like he's in that tier 2, kind of scratching on the surface of being a tier 1 receiver in the NFL. And I'm not saying he's not a team's number 1. He's clearly a wide receiver 1. But in the grand scheme of how we judge the entirety of the wide receivers in the NFL, I think he's right there scratching on the surface. And if he's healthy for 17 games this year, again, that's a factor. We'll see him kind of say, hey, I'm 6, I'm 5, I'm fighting for that top 5, top 6 position. But if I scrap everything about the offseason and go strictly on the concrete evidence of 2024, here's what the Texans have. John Mechie III, 24 catches, 254 yards, 1 TD. Xavier Hutchinson, 12 catches, 117 yards, 0 touchdowns. Christian Kirk, the vet, traded for in the offseason, played in 8 games, starting in 7 of those 8 games before suffering a season-ending broken collarbone in late October of 2024. The collarbone injury marked the second straight season that was cut short due to injury, having also missed time in 2023 with an injury as well. Finished the short season, 27 catches on 47 targets, 379 yards. His catch rate dropped to around 57%. Advanced metrics from PFF graded him at 67.9 for you grade lovers out there, placing him 62nd among qualifying receivers in 2024. And here's something that also needs to be said. Nico Collins and the Texans have missed an outside receiving weapon, right? We didn't get an opportunity to see that in totality in 2024 with Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell because of injuries. Then a year prior to that, Nico Collins was his team's true wide receiver, one outside. Tank Dell lined up primarily outside, but again, didn't see the fullness of that as well due to injury. And Nico Collins really missed Tank Dell in the playoffs against the Baltimore Ravens. That's a game where I just said if Houston had Tank Dell, then maybe we see a more competitive first half and maybe that game looks a little bit different. So they need an outside receiver. And for Kirk, he was primarily lined up in a slot at 77% of his snaps being there. Now, here's a positive. He did have a 53.7% win rate versus man coverage and a 59% win rate versus zone coverage. So that's a positive for you guys. But without mentioning any of the newcomers who roles matter, I'm factoring those numbers, those newcomers in. Houston has to rely on some pretty unreliable players at this stage of their career. Granted, I believe we'll see play calling help this unit out a lot, just like I think it'll help out the tight end room and the offensive line room. But this room will need those rookies, especially Jayden Higgins, to be a major contributor and be very productive for this group and this grade of this group to bump up, but to more so be a real threat and weapons for CJ Stroud. Who needs to be this unit's floor raiser? Isn't the answer obvious? More on the Locked On Texans podcast, the wide receiver grade edition. However, Texan fans, as we get ready for the NFL season that is right around the corner, this is the perfect time to let you guys in on it's not even a secret anymore how FanDuel has been hooking up players, man. And summer sports are in a full swing, whether you're about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action. Well, if you want to get in on some of this NFL preseason action as well, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Many of you have been using FanDuel to track your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. And whether you're placing a same game parlay or just watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you are a part of the action. New to FanDuel? No problem. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. It's that simple. It's that easy. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Again, visit FanDuel.com to get started. And also Locked On Texans listeners and viewers, as we get ready for the NFL season, I want to let you guys know that it's okay to talk about whatever's going on, your stressors. It's okay to go seek somebody to get it off of you. The NFL does a good job of taking stress away. It also does a good job of adding stress to our lives, but BetterHelp, you need to check them out right now. The workplace can be extremely stressful. Stress is at an all-time high. 61% of the global workforce is reporting higher than normal stress levels. This summer is the perfect time to take small steps to focus on your wellness and manage the challenges that come with your workday. Of course, most of us just can't quit our job and take endless vacations like we probably want to, but we can start small, whether it's getting outside for a few minutes, adding movement into your day, or talking to someone who can help you navigate through life challenges. That's where BetterHelp comes in. We all got busy schedules. Do you ever wish you had more time to schedule appointments? The flexibility of online therapy makes it easy to fit in sessions into a busy schedule no matter where you are. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work, get that stress up off you. Come on, let's shake it off. Get it off you. You can do all of that with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/locked on. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on. Check it out. We are continuing with the wide receiver grades, talking about the player who needs to step up to relieve Nico Collins, essentially who should be the floor raiser. I want to give you guys an update. Shout out to Aaron Wilson, friend of the show, one of the colleagues that I work with here in Houston, covering the Houston Texans podcast. The Houston Texans here on the Locked On Texans podcast. Aaron Wilson put out a report. Veteran offensive tackle Trent Brown, former Pro Bowl selection who signed to a one-year deal, cleared to resume football activities. And also, the medical outlook is positive for the Texans right now, including Joe Mixon, Christian Harris, Trent Brown, who I just mentioned, Damian Pierce, Jalen Noel, fits right into the wide receiver talk, and Henry T. and more. So make sure you go learn a little bit more about that. Follow Aaron Wilson. But here on the Locked On Texans podcast, today is all about, okay, who needs to step up to relieve Nico Collins? And guys, let's be real here. Let's keep it real. The player who needs to be the reliever for Nico Collins is 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, the rookie, Jayden Higgins. I think that should be widely known. Like, Jayden Higgins needs to be some version of the guy. Some version. I look at Jayden the same way I look at Kamari Lassiter in 2024. This the perfect running mate with the team's already number one option. Now, granted, Christian Kirk is the vet. He is expected to fill the void for Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. He ranked number one in targets from the slot, and he will be counted upon to help this offense get up to speed. But the real relief is going to have to come from their first pick in the 2025 draft, Jayden Higgins. I don't think that should be, debated against. Honestly, I think when you look at the first, few weeks of the season, that first portion of the year where you're trying to figure some things out. Okay, yeah, you may look towards Christian Kirk a little bit more because he may just know the nuances of not only the offense, but also the defense. He's been in the league longer. He's more experienced. That matters. That would never get discounted on this show. Being a vet in the league and knowing a successful vet like Christian Kirk, knowing what it takes, that matters. But again, Jayden Higgins was drafted to be this team's number 2 receiver. And if we're being honest, you can make the case for being this future number 1 for this team. Consider this perspective. If Nico is at the top of the totem pole, then Kirk is in the middle. The Texans need Jayden Higgins to fill in the gap of everything in between. Down the field, explosive plays, intermediate plays, short passing plays, outside power slot, as they like to call it now. Being able to be flexible on where he's lined up at. He is 6'4", 215, just like Nico Collins. Can he be an additional mismatch on the field? That's why he was drafted. Higgins must be the ideal complementary piece for a unit that includes returning players who combine for 731 yards. 337. Higgins must be the ideal complementary piece for a unit that includes returning players who combine for 371 yards on 36 receptions, especially in the absence of Tank Dell and the departure of Stephon Diggs. That's just what it is. And here's another nugget. If you like the totem pole reference, just like Higgins needs to fill in the void between Nico and Kirk, Jalen Noel should be the one filling in the void between Kirk and the guys that will be fighting for their roster spot. Noel is the more explosive player compared to those other guys in that room. And at the very least, maybe he's the player that can create the most impact with the least amount of targets between himself, Mechie, and Hutchinson, Berrios, and Watson. The reality of the wide receiver room is that those rookies need to be real weapons, regardless of NFL experience. They are two players Houston obviously loved during the pre-draft period. They love them to play for a coach who has said in the past they do not wait on rookies. A coach that says that for two reasons. He says it for two reasons. Number one, waiting is not an option. That's obvious. This team has real goals. But number two, they have confidence that those players are ready to go right now. And they feel they drafted guys they don't need to necessarily wait on. Jayden Higgins received the X Factor nod for the 2025 Texans from ESPN. I firmly believe if Higgins underperforms, it will lead to significant issues for the team. That's the best way I can put it, plain and simple. With fewer time to prepare in 2025 and the season that's coming up, there's an increased pressure to make the best roster decisions in a shorter time frame. It's crucial to get it right this time when it comes to roster construction. Don't go nowhere. We got more Locked On Texans on the way. But first, Texan fans, it is time to let you guys know about Rougiette. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette is a 3-in-1 formula that dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average of 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours. It's a lot of time to have fun there, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That is RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but not under FDA approved, and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit Rougiette website for full safety information. Welcome back in, Locked On listeners and viewers. We have training camp kicking off on Wednesday. Man, we are here. We are here. Football is literally around the corner. And with that being said, time is of the essence. Is there a different sense of urgency that Caserio and Ryans are operating under this year compared to last year, since they do not have the extra week? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I give credit to Houston for getting ahead of the curve by moving on from certain players and personnel, coaches. Houston got it wrong in some ways in 2024. They got it right in some ways in 2024. They got it right in a lot of ways in 2024, but the ways that they got it wrong in 2024, they had that additional week due to playing in the Hall of Fame game. Did we feel like they addressed the wide receiver depth? Or with that additional week that they had to kick off training camp, did they do themselves a disservice by not making a change at right guard? And again, camp kicks off Wednesday. I will say Houston had a very positive OTA period earlier this offseason. I think we got a good understanding at the direction Houston is going towards, especially at O-line. I also want to say this, man. Hey, man, Trent Brown, you guys heard me talk about it. Trent Brown is healthy. He'll be able to start practicing. He'll be able to compete. So I am looking forward to that right tackle battle for the Houston Texans. But with the shorter time period that they have going into this preseason training camp period, I am looking for that desperation move that makes sense. And I say desperation, that may be overblowing it, but any move that will bring in a player or move on from a current player in the window that they're operating under will be under the microscope. And that's why I'm labeling as a desperation move. In some ways, that move may be a quote-unquote desperation move, though it could be just a move to improve the roster. But that could be searching outside of the building. That could be making a tough internal decision, like shifting Howard back to right tackle or Trent Brown to make the start, to be the starter at right tackle because Fisher isn't ready. Houston has a shorter time period to get it right. Roster moves that I want to see adequately addressed before week 1. And keep in mind, Houston has 2 joint practices with Carolina and Detroit. Carolina's joint practice date is on 8/14. Detroit's is 8/21. I want to see that right side solidified with confidence. No, we think we have the guy. No, we got the best guy out there for right now, and we'll see how it goes with competition. Hey, things may change during. We know how Nick Caserio can get. Hey, things may change. It's week to week conversation. Like, no, the starter should be the starter. There should be no questions outside of why did you make this move for him to be the starter at right tackle. A next question should be, what did he bring to the table? But once we get to week 1, there should not be any more question marks about the right tackle position. It should be handled in the right side altogether. It should be handled with confidence because the competition will be there, unlike what we saw maybe in a little bit more so in 2024. Next, number 2, what does wide receiver 5 and 6 look like? Okay, let's get these guys. Okay, what's the defined role? What are you asking from a wide receiver 5? Do you carry 6 receivers? We can look at the unit right now. Nico number 1, Higgins number 2, Kirk number 3, Noah number 4. So if you're not carrying 6, you have Mechie, Hutchinson, Berrios, Watson, and a couple other guys that will be fighting for wide receiver 5 and also for a spot on the practice squad. And some of those guys may not make the roster, so they're going to want to get out there to get some good tape to show to the other 31 teams in the NFL. If that player is balling enough, do you have to make a tough, critical decision and say, you know what, he may have not been our top choice, but we like him more compared to what other player is doing? Are you carrying 6? If not, who's gonna be that 5th receiver? That's going to be important, guys. Don't want to glance over that because that 5th receiver is going to be excellent on special teams, excellent in the return game, excellent. Like when they get in certain situations, they're going to look to be excellent in their role. Who fits the role? Looking for that. Will Houston trade for an over-the-top piece? The salary cap has been updated. They have about $12 million in salary cap as of right now. Will the Houston Texans keep their eyes open, keep their options open, go through the market, make calls, and say, you know what? We got to make this move. The move could be for protection. The move could be for a weapon. The move could also be for idea. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but will they make that desperation move to upgrade? They only should make a move if it's for upgrading or for a better option. They have all the depth here. Sort it out, make those tough decisions, and go into week 1 with the confidence that all the moves that were made with the right thinking in mind and with the right leadership to get those players over the hump. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_12. We are a couple of days away from training camp. I'm excited. You should be too. More Locked On Texans throughout the week.